The best investment I have ever made for myself was therapy. Ever. And it has completely transformed who I am as a person in my personal life and in my professional life.
You're listening to Femcanic Garage, the podcast that features women in the automotive and motorsports industries. A community that elevates, empowers, and evolves by smashing stereotypes and breaking down barriers for women. I'm your host, Jamie Blosman. Buckle up for the ride, Femcanics. Miranda Rumfelt is in the driver's seat today. Miranda was a transportation design student with a background in automotive restoration and racing. She works at General Motors Design as a clay sculptor. Miranda was raised in the Motor City by a family of wrenchers, and her life revolved around American muscle cars. Once she was old enough to lend a helping hand, Miranda started rebuilding engines and fixing anything her hands could get on. Her passion for cars continued as she got older and decided to enroll in Drive One Detroit, a vocational program where she learned the ins and outs of classic car restoration and race car building. Now let's sit back and enjoy the ride. Hello, Femcanics. This is Jamie B coming to you, and I have Miranda Rumfelt in the driver's seat today. Thank you for reaching out to me and wanting to be a part of the Femcanic community.
Yeah, of course. I was just super interested when I saw your website and just seeing the platform that you give other women. So yeah, super happy to be here.
I think what you do is incredibly fascinating, and it's not it's very niche.
Yeah.
Very niche.
Yeah.
However you want to say it, depending on whatever you roll with there. Why don't you go ahead and share with the audience what it is that you do?
Yeah, so clay sculpting, automotive clay sculpting is, like you said, a very niche thing. And a lot of people don't even know about it. And believe it or not, every single car that's on the road has started and been transformed through an idea in someone's head into a sketch on a piece of paper and then put into clay in 3D. So a real life prototype model of what that idea looks like. But before anybody spends the time or money on putting it in stamping and crazy machines and things like that. So it's a quick way to get ideas out to see what the car would look like before, you kind of decide, all right, this is it. You're able to, like I said, get ideas out very quickly and kind of try out everything that you want without sacrificing any time or money.
I see I see something behind you, right?
Yeah, so this is a very small model. So they're a little bit bigger than this.
Okay.
I would say this is probably a 1/10 scale, but in the studio they would generally do like a 1/5 scale or a 1/3 scale.
Did you always know you wanted to be in the automotive industry?
So I grew up into it. I always knew I wanted to be in the automotive industry. It's just which path and where in it was where I, had to figure that out. But I was introduced to sculpting when I was 13. And as soon as I was introduced to it and I kind of saw that I could be creative but still be working on cars, I knew that was it. And I just kind of took it and ran with it.
You ran into some challenges at school of some of your peers, male peers, posting inappropriate and slandering things on social media about you. And, we talked earlier about personal brand, and that's incredibly frustrating. And how did your school handle that?
Yeah, something like that is so touchy, but my school did a very good job of making sure I was comfortable to be there and making sure that I was accomplishing what I wanted to, and not only just doing that, but feeling like I feeling like I belonged there and that it was my right to do that. Because there was a lot of moments where I had issues like that, where I just didn't want to go to the studio. I didn't want to see those people. And a lot of the times you just can't avoid people in life, you know? And so, like, it's just one of those things, like, I just had to push through it. But the school really did what they needed to do to make sure that I was comfortable when I had to have, experiences where I had to be around those people that made me uncomfortable.
So right now, I'm going to ask you to answer a question, and imagine talking to young women, young girls. How would you explain to them on how to handle those situations, and maybe even share what, if there was something you wish you would have handled differently, and here's how you would have handled it?
If I were to go back and be able to tell myself something or tell somebody else, do not try and fit in somewhere, especially if you're uncomfortable with it, because you're not going to be successful in anything if you're trying to play a different role than you are. And so it doing that and trying to kind of go along with jokes and let stuff roll off my shoulder that I probably shouldn't have, that kind of took a...
And by jokes, you mean kind of sexist,
Yeah,
misogynistic
right.
type
The
jokes?
stuff that, you hear and you're like, oh, people don't say that. The stuff like that that was said to me that I would just be like, oh, haha.
Can you give an example, Miranda? Does anything stick out just for the young girls to understand, or maybe use an example
Yeah,
of, hey,
well, just things like stupid stuff that, some men might be like, well, that's not offensive, but stupid things like, oh, well, why aren't you wearing a dress? Or where's my lunch?
oh boy. Yeah.
Things like that it's like, oh, haha, but really instead of doing that, I wish I would have nipped it in the bud, because I think that would have given me a lot more credibility down the line when I wanted to say something about it.
Rather than just try to let it roll off your back and chuckle about it. When you say nip it in the bud, how would you have handled that? What does that mean? Like, what would that have looked like?
I would say, as I've gotten older, I've really, gotten a sense of confidence in like how powerful I am as a woman. And,
Say that again. Say it again.
Well, it's true, like the
No,
confidence
say it.
that you
I'm
have.
serious. Say it. I am.
Yeah, I am a very powerful woman, And
Yes.
honestly, I should probably say that in the mirror a lot, because it took a lot to get there.
We all should, sister.
Because it's hard when you're
I am
surrounded.
a powerful woman.
Exactly.
I am. Let's hear it again one more time.
Lord, I am a powerful woman.
Yes!
And
that's
it's
what I'm
taken
talking
a lot
about.
to get there, and a lot of people that have knocked you down to get there. Or try to knock you down at least. But so something that I would do now if I had an encounter like that, I would just kind of stand my ground. And, not to start a riot or anything, but just like I said, like kind of nip it in the bud, like, oh, like, I don't appreciate comments like that. Please don't make comments like that. And just something very simple that isn't asking for a response back, that isn't asking for a fight, but just simply, my feelings are valid and I don't appreciate that. Please don't say things like that.
What is your parting advice to other femcanics finding their way in this industry?
The first thing that comes to mind is just keep doing it. And that sounds cheesy and it sounds like that means nothing. But at the end of the day, in your gut, if this is what you want to do, the only way to serve yourself and do yourself justice is to do it. I am Miranda Rumfelt, and I am a creative design clay sculptor at General Motors, and I am a Femcanic.
Hey Femcanics, this is Jamie B. Thanks for listening to the preview. If you would like to listen to the complete interview, we provided 2 convenient links below that will link directly to this episode. These links take you to Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can always go to your favorite podcast listening platform and search for Femcanic Garage. While you're there, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and give us a rating. It helps the podcast reach more women. And just know, we appreciate you and your support. This is Jamie B signing off. Are you a Femcanic?